Caught me adjusting my glasses there. Hello and welcome to episode 167 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. I have 2 finished objects today. And whilst we're on the subject of finished objects, do not forget to enter the Topping Out Mal being run by myself and Belinda from Belinda's Baubles. It's really Belinda's baby. So linked down below is a little video that she's put together, which is just amazing, of all the rules and regulations and how to enter. Let me just turn you a little bit. That's better. You could see the window frame and it was making everything look a bit wonky. And I've derailed myself again every week. Basically, the rules are: you can enter anything that was started before the 1st of January this year and finished before the end of March this year. There are 2 threads running on both our pages. There is a chatter thread that we're drawing from randomly for participation prizes during the course of the make along, and they are pattern prizes. There are 2 finished object threads, one on mine and one on Belinda's Ravelry pages, and you can enter into both of those, both for participation prizes and both for finished objects. When we draw, we are both drawing from both places, if that makes sense. So if you're not able to use Ravelry for any reason, you can email your entry to me at mousesmakes@gmail.com, that's below as well, and or to Belinda at belindasbaubles@gmail.com. Again, I think I've put that below. Is there anything else I need to tell you? I don't think so. You can enter as many things as you finish. You can enter into the chat threads as often as you like. Because it's good to have some sort of chatter going on between people who are making things. And I think that really is everything I needed to tell you. Okay. Oh, you will need to watch both podcasts because we're not going to tell you who's drawing the next prize or when, because we are sneaky. Okay. Shall I show you what I've finished? Let's show you the small thing first. I finished my pair of socks. These are the Drippity Drop socks by KF Jones, she is on Ravelry, of the Bakery Bears. If I bring them closer, you can sort of see the pattern. The main yarn is from Snug. Oh, what is wrong with... Whose teeth are these? Can someone come and get them back, please? The main yarn is from Snuggly Stars Yarn. It was a birthday gift, and the colourway is inspired by Wales. It's 75-25 merino and nylon, superwash obviously. And for the heel and toe, the heel is West Yorkshire Spinners Sour Apple, and the toe is Drops Fable Unicolor in 109. I did toy with the idea of swapping them round on the second sock, so having the blue heel and a green toe. But when it came to it, I forgot I was going to do that, and I just started making the green heel. So that is my 3rd pair of socks mal-wise, because I will be entering these into Amanda from Little Lycac's Socksy and You Know It, and the Socks Along by Socksy Nana Alice and Diane of My Pink Bathtub. Both of those threads. Right, I need to rearrange this in my head before I try and say it. There are 3 people running 2 sock-alongs, and that's what's making it complicated. Amanda is doing hers on her own. Alice and Diane are doing theirs together. Each month, and this may change because I'm struggling a little bit this month, each month I intended to draw a wrapped skein of yarn from my striping yarns sock stash and my not striping yarns sock stash. I may drop down to doing alternates, I don't know, because I think I've oversocked myself. You know when they say someone's over-egged the pudding, I think I've oversocked the Mandy. I did 3 pairs that were finishing off from an Advent self-striping sock thing. 2 pairs for January. This pair, a pair I'm about to show you, and another pair in February. So I think I've worn out my sock mojo a little bit. It may also be the needles I'm using. It may just be that I'm doing patterns and I need to go back to vanilla. I don't know what it is. But I wanted to get these finished so that I could just have 1 pair left. I mean, today is the 11th, so I've still got half the month to finish my 2nd pair. I'm going to show you those now as we're talking about socks. That first pair were in my Star Wars bag. The 2nd pair are in my Star Trek bag. Both from Amelia X Joy on Etsy. I had to think about that, nearly said Ravelry. Okay, this sock I'm knitting in Opal. I showed it to you last week. It's called Who Has Eaten All My Windows? And I showed you the label to prove I'm not making that up. And I started putting the heel in. I'm putting the heel in using West Yorkshire Spillers turmeric. And I've got myself into a real pickle here. It's because I've got 2 balls of yarn attached to it. And I think I'm right that this colour is just brightening up the rest. But I've stopped there because I think I want to make the leg longer. I might try it on before I pull the heel back to carry on, but I think I might like the leg just a few rows longer. But yeah, I stopped working on this so I could finish those, and I haven't picked it back up. I only finished those last night, in all fairness. So I'm going to try that on and see if I'm going to keep the leg or whether I want it a bit longer. I think I want it a bit longer, but we'll see. The confusion is coming from the fact that I normally knit my socks on 2.25 needles, but I've switched to doing them on 2.5 needles. So I reduced the number of rows that I normally do, and it's coming out a lot shorter than I had calculated it would. Is that making sense? Because I know what length I want my leg and my foot to be. And I know how many rows get me to that length. So I've been counting the rows and then measuring just to be sure. And I counted the rows and I had as many as I thought I needed. But I think it may just want a few more. I don't know. So I'm going to try it on in a bit and then decide, and I'll let you all know next week. Okay, what else? I'm going to show you this now because it's on top of the next thing that I want to show you. I treated myself to a present. I've just caught sight of my hair and I look like the wild woman. Right, I washed my hair yesterday and look at it today. I should have put it up or tied it up or something, but I just couldn't be bothered. And so, yes, I'm going to try not to look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. I also put on quite a summery t-shirt because it's very dark and miserable, and I thought it might just brighten things up a bit. Okay. I've bought myself a little present. It is this. And I think when you see it, you'll understand why I had to have all the little mice eating cakes and sweeties. This bag comes from a lady. I've got a couple of her bags actually. This is from Hannah of Hannah's Happy Space. Hannah has a YouTube channel and shares, or rather we share, a love of bright rainbow colours. And she also makes bags. In fact, this is, I just caught sight of that as well. This is one of Hannah's bags. It's the same size as this one. And this is full of all the leftovers from my Colour Play Advent blanket that have got to find their way into the right receptacle. So Hannah's recently put a podcast out. I will link that below as well. And so I went to her Ko-fi shop and I had a look and I saw this. There was only one, I'm sorry if you're another mouse lover. But I just had to have it. I wasn't buying any bags this year. I'm trying not to buy yarn. So far, I've spent £2.25 on yarn this year, which I think is pretty good for me. I have, however, spent considerably more than that on cross-stitch stuff. But we're not going to talk about that because I'm going to do a special episode towards the end of the month where I will confess all. Yes, so I treated myself to a little bag. I'm going to put that there. I have finished another blanket. As predicted last week, when I think I only had this one square to go, I've finished. Alexa's bonging out there, I don't know why. I finished my large mitered square blanket, which is knit in my variegated birthstone colourways from last year. So there's garnet, come on brain, amethyst and aquamarine. Then there is diamond, peridot and pearl. That's the wrong way. Diamond, emerald and pearl. It's only my yarn, you'd think I'd remember, wouldn't you? Followed by ruby. This one is peridot and sapphire. My brain is short-circuiting very much this morning. Then rose quartz, citrine and blue topaz. It's a perfect lap blanket size. It's 3 squares by 4. I could try, actually let me try. We're on the move, people. I'm going to see if I can turn the camera around and show you it in all its glory without showing you me in all my glory, because I'm looking pretty scruffy today. Oh, now Dave is ringing. Oh dear. Right. So. Oh, I brought the cushion with me. Okay. Let me turn you around. Hold on to your hats. We're going for a ride. Okay, let me see if I can not fall over the cushion. No, we've gone too far. Come back a bit. Okay, that might do. So, I can't see what you can see now. So that's the size of it. That's on the floor and it comes to my armpits. Thank you very much. I shall now sit back down. Okay, rescue the cushion. So I finished this. Oh, sorry. Oh God, I'm plucking stuff everywhere. I finished this and I've started knitting on its sister blanket. Last year I dyed up every month the birthstone of the month as a variegated colourway and a tonal colourway. Brain, please. This is the variegated, and I will show you now the tonal, which I have begun working on now that I've finished that one. Oh, let's move that. Oh, I've trapped it. Oh, come on. Trapped it in the basket. Right. The large mitered square, there was no pattern for. I did verbally tell you the pattern the other week, but if you go to my Ravelry project page, I have written down in the notes, exactly how that was done. This one is a pattern, but it's not a pattern that I can link below because it was a Patreon only pattern. Or you could get it, which is how I did it, by now 2023. Every other episode of the Bakery Bears, she dyed some yarn and she knit that yarn into the blanket, and you could write the pattern down as she went. So that's how I did it. So it's called My Favourite Blanket and it's by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. Let's put that down there. And I'm just started August. So it starts off in the corner. So again, there's January, February, March, April, May, June, Ruby for July, and then Peridot for August. This, I think, there are a couple of colourways that I've dyed for this blanket that I've absolutely loved. The Peridot and the emerald in the one that I've just shown you. So the two greens essentially. Those two. And I did really like the rose quartz as well. And then in this blanket, which is the tonals, I think my favourites are the Peridot. This one is opal. It's very difficult to photograph and for you to see on the screen. It looks like it's just cream, but it's not. It's got kind of an opal-y tone to it. It's almost like a pinky yellowish. Don't know quite how to describe it. And also this one, which is the citrine tonal and is kind of a clotted cream colour, I suppose. And then that's the sapphire, and that's the blue topaz. So I've still got quite a way to go with this one, but I am again quite confident that I'll have it finished by the end of the month. And I've already picked the blanket that I'm going to work on in March. So if you're new and you haven't seen my plans for this year, what I'm trying to do is every month pick a blanket and a garment from my, I was going to say my shelf of shame, but it's expanded from the shelf. It's now my shelf of shame and my under the desk of shame. Partly because of our make along where we're trying to get rid of old whips, but also because I'd got up to 31 and it was getting out of control. There are things that I want to cast on with my advents from last year that I can't, because I physically haven't got the space to put them. So I'm working my way through my whips, and I will continue doing that when we get to a cast on party, and I think there's one coming up in the spring. I'll cast on some of the things I want to cast on, but how many will be dependent on how many of my whips I've managed to get off the needles in between times. So I'm getting quite a lot of pleasure from bringing my list down at the moment. I started off with 33, came into 2025 with 33, and I'm down to 27. And bear in mind that each month it goes up to and then back down to because of the socks. I'm sorry, I'm really itchy today. So, quite pleased about that. So there's that I will... I was going to say I might even have finished next week. You never know. And then the last whip that I'm working on, as I said, there's a garment and a blanket each month. And this month's garment is the Salt Marsh Cove Stay by Laura Ayler, who I'm sure is Fogbound Knits. This was my birthday cast on in 2023, so it's another one that's been hanging around for well over a year. It's a nice pattern, it's DK weight, and I'm knitting it in this James C. Brett yarn. This is SH01, I believe. I can check the label in a minute. Actually, let's do it now. Yes, SH01, which is a very bright rainbow colour, and I'm very pleased with it. The usual thing happened with this, where I knit the yoke and then got bored. Because when it gets to just going round and round, I lose interest in things. So recently, in January, I finished the summer sorbet tea, and exactly the same thing had happened with that. I'd done the yoke, got about halfway down the body and lost the will to live. But I managed to finish it by doing a Star Trek marathon and just knitting and watching. So this has been I'm going to call it a Yellowstone prequel marathon, because I was watching 1923 while I did it, and I've done that much. Not a lot in the scheme of things, but I did enjoy knitting it. It didn't feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a burden, a chore. So I'm hoping I can crack through this as well. Oh dear, Dave is ringing me again. I've got this much under the arm. There's this panel of garter that goes down each side, which just keep your interest a little bit. But I'm only about halfway, or perhaps a bit more than halfway. I need a lot more length, and then I've got the sleeves to do. So we'll have it finished by the end of the month. I'm determined. Probably will not have it finished by next week. Right. Dave clearly needs to speak to me because he's rung twice in the space of a few minutes. So I'd better go and see what's up. I didn't have anything else to tell you anyway, so that's quite handy. And I will see you next week. Will there be more finished objects, or will there just be a 5 minutes of I've finished nothing? I'm sorry. I would like to say though, despite the fact that I have fallen into this crevasse of cross stitching, I am keeping up with my knitting, and I was a little bit afraid because I know what I'm like, that faced with a new shiny hobby, well, it's not really new, but a revisited shiny hobby, I might lose interest in knitting, but I haven't done. So I'm quite pleased about that. Because I don't want to be left with all these almost 30 projects sitting around for 15 years while I cross stitch instead of knit, because that's what happened. I knit instead of cross stitch. Right, I'm going to go see what Dave wants, and I'll see you next week. Until then, enjoy your crafting, whatever it is. Bye, guys.